Give your servant a heart to discern, to understand how to discern between good and evil. Whereas we have this morning from the first book of the Kings, chapter 3, 5 to 12. Ask me whatever you would like me to do for you. Shortly after his coronation and the installation as the third king of Israel, the Lord appeared to King Solomon and said to him, ask me whatever you would like me to do for you. What do you want? What do you need? What do you desire? I'm giving you a golden opportunity, a blank check, we will say. Name whatever you would like me to do for you. I am willing and ready to do it for you. In reply, of all things a human being could ever ask from God or of God, Solomon said to him, give me wisdom, give me a discerning heart, that I may be able to know evil from good. God himself was somehow surprised. He was impressed indeed. That Solomon didn't ask for fame, he didn't ask for wealth, he didn't ask for long life, he didn't ask for his enemies to be eliminated. He didn't ask for any other thing, just wisdom. And God said, because you have asked for wisdom, I'm going to make you so wise that no one before you will ever be reckoned as being as wise as you are. And even after you, no one will be as wise as you are or as you were. So even today, it is still being celebrated that King Solomon has been the wisest and the only wisest man that ever lived on the face of the earth. Now the question is, when God presented that opportunity to King Solomon and said, ask me whatever you want, whatever you need, whatever you would like me to do for you, Solomon asked for wisdom. Why? Why wisdom? Someone could say, yes, that was what he needed, so he asked for wisdom. And another question would be, why is it that of all things, all he needed at that time was wisdom? Could it be that it was a random request? Or was that request actually informed by something or by factors or some other things? I think so. Someone asked for wisdom because of three major reasons, of major factors. We look at it this way. Number one, family factor. A little bit of history. King David had about 19 sons. Before his death, his eldest son was Adonijah. And Solomon was the youngest of the 19. Now, Adonijah was seen by all as the king in waiting. He was seen as the heir apparent to the throne. And he was also conducting himself as the king to be. And his father, the Bible said, had no objection to that, meaning that the father was also in support. So before his father's death, he called his friends, all the members of the royal family and all the officials of the royal family, and then took with him a priest known as Abiathar, and then about 4,000 people in the kingdom, and they went and offered sacrifice in thanksgiving to God for the choice of Adonijah as the king to be. And they had a feast, they had a celebration, and there Adonijah declared himself as the king in waiting and the king to be. But when this was going on, the prophet Nathan, the prophet at the time who was prophet Nathan, didn't find it funny. So he went to Bathsheba, who was the mother of Solomon, one of the wives of David, and said to her, go to your husband, the king, and say to him, you made a promise to me that my son Solomon will be the king, or was to be the king. What is happening? Adonijah has declared himself a king to succeed you. Bathsheba agreed to the suggestion made by Nathan. Now, in the whole Bible, and among biblical scholars, there is never a place it is recorded that King David ever made a promise that Solomon was to succeed him. So how did Prophet Nathan come up with that idea? Could it be divine inspiration, or could it be just human manipulation? The Bible didn't say. What is obvious was that Bathsheba connived with Prophet Nathan, and he went to the king. And Nathan plotted it so well and said to her, when you are there speaking with your husband about this, I will make myself ready in case I am needed. So Bathsheba went to her husband and said, you made a promise to me that my son Solomon was going to be the king. What is happening? And David, who was weak and old on his sick bed, said, if I made that promise to you, then I must fulfill it. So can you get the prophet and the priest so that your son Solomon will then be anointed? And then Nathan showed up, said, I am here already. Can I do the job? And David said, yes. Anoint my son Solomon the king. And so Solomon became king under this circumstance. Now, of all the members of the royal family, the only person that was on the side of Solomon was his mother, Bathsheba. His brothers were with him. Of all the officials, only one of the priests was with him, and Nathan. So he hadn't much people on his side. This was the circumstance when he became the king. Therefore, it was proper that when God said to him, what do you want? What do you need? At that moment, what Solomon needed was not fame. What Solomon needed was not prosperity. What Solomon needed was not long life. What he needed was wisdom to be able to navigate that moment, especially the family politics that made him the king. All he needed at that time was wisdom to govern, to bring people together, to manage that situation, how he became the king. So it was right that Solomon asked for wisdom because of the family factor. Another thing was his own personal factor. Solomon confessed that he was young and unskilled in leadership. He wasn't prepared to be the king, I would say. So when God asked him, what do you need? What would you like me to do for you? It was right, therefore, that being a young person, he was not so much equipped to do that job. He needed something extra, not fame, not wealth. He needed wisdom to be able to govern. And he said, you have made me king over people who are numerous and great. I'm only a young person. Therefore, proper that Solomon should ask of all things, any other thing but me. He needed only wisdom to be able to work and to do his job, despite his age and also the circumstances. The last factor that actually motivated King Solomon to ask for wisdom was his father's factor. King David, his father, was so loved by the people. He did so well as a king. He was actually known as the man after God's own heart. So everybody was expecting that his successor will be at least as good as his father or as their father. So there was this expectation, high expectation from the people, that the successor of this good man would also be good and would also rule justly and well. So in order to meet up with that expectation, to be at least as good as his father, Solomon at that time needed nothing again but wisdom. He needed not fame, he needed no wealth, he needed no long life. What he needed at that time, in order to meet the expectation of his people to be at least as good as his father was wisdom. And that was why he asked wisdom. Now, putting all these things together, whether he asked for wisdom because of the family politics, how he became a king, or because of the personal factor, his inadequacy, or because of the expectation, one thing is clear. King Solomon asked for wisdom because he recognized that was what he needed. And he went for it. Every Sunday, we come here for worship. And God presents the same blank check to all of us. The same question is thrown to us today. What would you like me to do for you? What do you need? If that question, which is 9, indeed is thrown to you, what will be your answer? What do you need? We must be careful, actually, because economics will tell us that there is a disparity between needs and wants. That need is something we need essentially to move on in life. But wants are desires and mere wishes and things that we may not actually need and we can still survive without them. As a priest, if that question is thrown to me as it is now, what will I need? What do I say I would like God to do for me? A new car, is that my need? Fat bank account, is that my need? What is your need? But be careful as you present your need before the Lord. Because when Solomon asked for wisdom, it was given to him in abundance. And to be fair to him, he used that gift well. But however, towards the end of his life, that gift became a source of his punishment. Because at the end, Solomon messed up with the gift given to him. He not only married 700 wives and 300 concubines, rather also he brought paganism back to Israel, bringing foreign gods back against God's command. And that was why at the end of his life God said, because you have abused your gift, because you have not obeyed me, I'm going to punish you. And your punishment will be, I will take the kingdom away from you and give it to people from the other side. But for the sake of your father, who was so good to me as the king, when he was the king, I'm not taking the whole kingdom, I'm going to leave one. But the punishment will be that the throne will leave your house, remaining just one tribe for you, for your son Rehoboam. Dear friends, God is asking us today, what would you like me to do for you? What do you need? What is in your scale of preference? What would you need as a person, as a grandma, as a grandpa, as a father, as a family? What would you need? But as I said, be careful what you ask for. Because Solomon asked for wisdom, and it was a blessing unto him, and eventually became a source of punishment. It's not just about what we ask for, it's also how we use it. For the same question within this Mass is for all of us. God has appeared on his temple as he appeared in Solomon. And the same question is thrown to you. What would you like him to do for you? What is that one thing you need?